Hey guys, welcome back to What's Mommy's Name podcast. This is episode 9, and this week we are going to be talking about becoming a young mother and the stigmas that are attached to that. Kind of what brought this on was I was on Facebook and I was watching a video of Kim Kardashian talking to like an interviewer or a host of a show, and she was talking about how if you go back in interviews you can find Kylie from when she was like 15, and they showed the clip of her just stating, like, the person goes, well, what do you want to be when you grow up? And she goes, I just really want to be a mom. And she goes, I know I'm only 15, but I just really can't wait to be like a mother, something along those lines. And there was just so many comments kind of, debating if it's okay to like have that desire. And lots of people are kind of upset that like a 15-year-old would be so concerned with wanting to be a mom as if it's this terrible thing that she wanted to be. And so I just thought that that was interesting, and it would be an interesting thing to talk about because so many people become moms at so many different ages. And sometimes a young mother is an amazing mother and an older mother is a shitty mother. And, age doesn't, in my opinion, really have to do with the quality of parent that you're going to be.
Yeah, there's definitely a stigma that young moms are like unmotivated, they're irresponsible, and just overall like incompetent for parenting. Which, anybody can fall into those categories. It doesn't necessarily have to be like a young mom, but I mean, I get that there are like factors that can influence somebody having like an early pregnancy. Like if they come from like an economically poor household, or if
the statistics are higher that you may become a young mother.
Or
sexually abused.
Sexually abused. Just like sexual deviancy, just like I think that's a big one that's attached to it. And just having like poor family relationships.
So like from my point of view, I would say that it goes both ways, right? Because it's not like a one size fits all category. Like there are plenty of people, and actually my mom admitted to me that when she was, I think she got pregnant with me when she was 16. She wanted to have a baby because she wanted something to love and something to love her. Like she didn't come from a good background and family life. And so like she fits that category of person who was lacking something at home from their parents and ended up having a baby to try and fill some void. But there's lots of people who come from very well-off families who still have children young. But I think there's even a difference between like accidentally getting pregnant and saying, I want to be a mom. I can't wait to be a mom. Like we're not just talking about like, oh, you had unprotected sex and now you're pregnant. We're talking about the desire to be a mom and to start a family.
Which is part of the stigma because, a lot of people are under the impression that anybody young that has a baby, it was unintentional.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that it must have been like an oopsie.
A lot of the like social isolation or judgment falls on the mother. Not the mother of the teen or young adult, but the one that becomes pregnant. Yeah. So it's like, from like 13 up, it's as if girls, women, it's their fault if they get pregnant.
Yeah. The blame is, it's all placed on the girl for being irresponsible or being too promiscuous. Like she got herself pregnant is like how it's treated.
Right. So there's judgment that falls on them for that. But then it's also like, well, you better live up to the standard of like what we think a good mom is.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah. And that just reminded me, I think there's other things I wanted to bring up, but that reminded me of like this trend that I'm seeing on TikTok of young moms, young single moms making videos of them like cooking for their children. I'm seeing like tons of people doing that. And so many of the comments, like they have people that are like supportive, but so many of the comments are like, oh, you're trash, you live in a trailer park. Oh, you suck, you're not a good parent because you're buying all these processed foods. Or, oh, ha ha ha, the government's buying all your food for you. And it's like, why are not only moms in general, but these young teenage mothers shamed for the father not being around, as if it's her fault that he's not around?
Right.
When we know so much of the time that it's the father's immature, he is not faithful, he doesn't want the responsibility and walks away from that, you know? Like, we see these things all the time. So like, why do we put down these mothers who are carrying all the responsibility themselves
and are
doing,
actually putting in the effort?
Yeah. It's really sad. I think another thing that I wanted to bring up too was that like, not only like do people want to have babies because for, you know, all these different reasons, but there's the unconscious part of us that is driven by our hormones. I mean, when we get our period, from then on, we have the ability to become pregnant. We attract a mate at certain points in our cycle.
Right. There's a level of it that is biological. We have,
right.
Like, we are in women bodies that
yes.
This is what, you know.
Yeah. And like people saying like, oh, baby fever, like that is a real thing that happens.
Yeah.
Like you have this innate desire, like, oh, I want to get pregnant. I want to have a baby. Like that is normal.
But that's not, I mean, yes. But at the same time, there are those like irresponsible young moms that probably shouldn't have.
Correct. Yeah. But I'm still kind of like saying these things for those moms that are not the irresponsible ones. The ones
that have the desire.
Yes.
Yeah. So basically, not all teen or young adult pregnancies are unwanted, on accident. You know, like some of them are planned and people are excited about them, and that's not something that people should judge.
Yeah. I think too, like I have seen mostly from like people on shows, I would say, because I don't know that many people in real life, but like when you have a mother who is like a good mother to you, you desire to be that kind of mother to your child. And so I feel like when they have that desire to like have a family, like that's their goal in life, is to be a mom. It's because they were given a good role model. I mean, you can go the other way too, where like a lot don't have a good home life, so they want to have a baby to, yeah, exactly.
So you're saying, that makes me think of like with Kylie's situation, was that in relation to that, like Chris being such a good mom that she's like, you know, it makes it look like something to look forward to. I don't know what, if people think like every person is made to like, you should be striving for like the ultimate form of success, and not everybody's version of success looks like that. Like, I don't want to be president. I don't want to, you know?
You don't want to go out and reach the top of the ladder in whatever career choice you choose.
Right. Like, that's okay. Everybody has a different idea of what happy looks like.
I saw a video on Instagram as well, like, my baby in my 30s versus like when I was in my 20s having my first kid, and it's like, oh, they're so tired, and like, you know, like there's a reason why your prime is like your late teenage years and your early 20s, because you have the energy to take care of a kid. Like, it's not a big deal when you're that young. You're not like
your body's not shutting down.
Yeah. You don't need to take a nap midday and like do all these things.
I do.
Okay, it's probably a little less that you're exhausted the way that you are as you start to get older and age. And so, I mean, I remember always wanting to be like Like, my dream would have been like married and having kids at like 22. Like, that's what I wanted. And I wouldn't consider myself a young mom. I had my first at 26. I understand people's point of view that like there's, and I think I've mentioned this before, you know, there's good intention in wanting your teenagers to go out, go to school, and get a career so that they can earn an income for stability purposes.
Mm-hmm.
But to like, you know,
It's
discourage or say that there's something wrong with somebody for wanting to have a family at a young age is like, it's just silly to me. Like,
well,
people
and
always
actually, like a lot of young moms having that baby at the age they did, that was their motivator to finish school,
Yeah,
to
that's
get a
true.
better job, to like some people
need it. Yeah, I
they
would
needed
agree.
that inspiration
Yeah.
from having their baby.
Yeah.
It was like a motivator in their life to change their lifestyle.
Yeah, yeah. Just in regards to like acting like you have to go out and like live your whole life before you settle down and have kids. It's like the same when like young people get in relationships. Let's say there's no baby involved at this point, but they're 19 and 20 or 20 and 21, right? And they're engaged and everybody's like, oh, you know, you need more experience. You need to go sleep with 10 other people before you decide that this is the person that you want to live your life with. And it's like, who are you to like tell somebody that, you know?
Yeah, not everybody, you know, that might be a way to, what am I trying to say? For some people, they might need that.
Yeah.
But not every person or couple
has that desire. There's just so many factors. Like, obviously, like anybody that wants to have kids should be made aware of like the responsibility that it is, you know, and to like know, okay, well, you're going to have to do this, this, and this, and it's going to be hard in these kinds of ways, but it doesn't mean that it has to be like miserable. It doesn't mean that it has to be, you know, I mean, I think
a lot of the reasons it might be miserable is just having nobody support you. And
Right.
support doesn't mean like give you money, give you everything you need. It just
Right.
means like
emotional
yeah. support and encouragement.
Yeah.
And, you know, people, when all they have is people that judge them for their situation, that
Yeah.
makes it 10 times harder.
Yeah. And then the thing going back to like Kylie wanting to be a mom, it was interesting because for her, she comes from an insanely rich family and she herself is insanely rich. So it's like she can afford to have children at a young age.
Mhm.
You know, it's not going to be something like the stability of a home and having their needs met is not something that is going to be an issue for her.
Right.
You know, it's going to be the other things that come with life and being
Right.
a human. But I would say that that is probably like the hardest part, and where I come back to like seeing, like, I understand why these people would be on the fence or like against young people having children, because there's so much involved in it, you know, and like selflessness and maturity and all of these different things.
I think, you know, America's still recovering from the idea that like you need to be married and then have a family, and that's not everybody's picture. And
Yeah.
I wouldn't agree that like marriage is the key to like having a, you know, good partner or making a good father. Like, I don't think marriage changes that. It's
Yeah.
either the person is that or they're not.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't have, honestly, nobody in my family has had a successful marriage.
Really?
Yeah. So for me, it kind of like, I don't put a lot of value in a marriage because it didn't work out for so many people. And,
Yeah.
you know, the people that are the good parents, like, they're good parents regardless if they're married or not.
Yeah, that's true. I struggle with that idea because, like, obviously, like, I'm in a marriage. I know that I want to be married. I want to, like, have that commitment from somebody. But I do see now, you know, that being in a marriage is not something that is going to, like, give you that fulfillment. You know, it's
Right.
it's about the relationship that you should already have with your partner. If you don't have that, like you said, a marriage surely doesn't fix it and
Yeah.
it doesn't change it. I think there is like security in being married, and there's like this sense of like comfortability, being comfortable with each other and knowing that you have this person that you don't really have to worry about like just disappearing.
But I don't see, yes, I agree with that, but it's like separated from having kids. I mean, I understand that like it's a nice idea to have, you know, two parents that are married and their kids know they're married, but you can still have the two parents without the marriage and the kids are still happy, or, you know, it's unrelated to the parenting to me, because I haven't experienced it that way. And like how we just said, like it doesn't change how a person is as a parent or a partner.
Right. So it's so funny that this is getting into like a marriage now, but like, okay, I have a question. So if you were to have a baby and everything is going fine, would marriage be something that you would want, or would it be something that you're just like could do without?
Yeah, I think it would be something I want, but it's not attached to having the baby.
Okay.
It's like, yes, it's that security and that commitment from the partner, and it's more about like the relationship, and, you know, there's other things involved, like, you know, you're able to help each other with like finances and, you know, all these other areas, but it's like, it's still detached from the baby aspect for me. I think, you know, being like spiritually bound, obviously, like that can't just be like one-sided. Like the other person has to see it that way too for it to work.
Yeah.
But yeah, the person I'm with, like, yeah, I would have a baby with him because I would get married to him.
Yeah.
In the past, that's not how I did things.
Yeah, like you didn't even think about it that way. Yeah.
But also just from having like, it's always been, you know, strong single woman in my family that have raised kids. You know, it's a weird perspective. I don't know how else to explain it, but
yeah. I mean, I get it. I think a lot of people, it kind of plays back into like that, like families looking different. Like there's a lot of single women these days that like purposely have children alone.
Right. And I mean, and also any marriages that I've seen, well, that don't work out, it's like, you know, it wasn't good for the kids.
Yeah.
The situation they were in.
Yep.
It didn't make, you know, a happy household. It didn't make a loving father, you know.
Yeah. And I feel like even that can like play back into like so many things, which we've talked about a little bit here and there, but just like how you're raised and how you go about picking a partner. Mm-hmm. You know, like I think a lot of people desire a very serious commitment, whether it's marriage or not, when you're with somebody for the most part, you know, except for the exceptions, you want somebody to commit to you. But I think so many of us have like just so much trauma that when we pick somebody, you know,
or
like
subconsciously choosing a pattern that you've already experienced.
Yeah, that too. And so, you know, we're not even taught how to pick a healthy or how to even be a healthy person to pick another healthy person, you know? And so it makes sense why there's like so many failed relationships, not just marriages, but relationships in general, where there's children involved because
they didn't pick the right partner to begin with.
Yeah. But yeah, that's why, too late.
Right. And you know, that's why people shouldn't judge young parents or specifically mothers, because they're the ones that usually get the slack for it.
Yeah.
You know, thinking that it's not a good situation because they're not married, and you know, because this is how society, like when you look at statistics, like society has shown us that a lot of times it doesn't work.
Right.
It's really hard to find the right person. Yeah. It's really hard, you know.
I think too, though, it does matter, though, that like statistically children that come from a two-parent household are more successful educationally, emotionally, mentally, physically, all of the above. Like they surpass their peers who come from single mother households,
Right.
you know?
And that is something, even if you don't choose the right partner to, that you grew your family with, that you had a baby with, like you can still have that
Yeah.
with, a
Someone
step
else.
parent.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, it's definitely true. And even in the cases of, like predators, like they go after, like,
Yeah, it's really scary.
they go after
Single
moms that, are either working too hard or just like have too much going on or in like bad circumstances and
Yeah.
aren't noticing the things that are happening to their child or children.
Yeah, that's really scary. Going back to like being a young mom, I just think that I wish society like could come to like a middle ground, like it used to be like everybody had kids young and got married young. And now it's like, oh, we want to do the exact opposite. But can't we like meet in the middle, and like say, hey,
Right,
if you're in your 20s and you want to get married and have kids, good for you. That's great,
Yeah, I mean, I was made fun of by what were friends at the time, but then became not friends, for potentially, it was right before actually I got pregnant with Ayla, and I was pregnant with her when I was 19 and had her when I was 20.
Okay.
But it was, a joke made about me, like she's gonna get pregnant and be on welfare, and okay, so I did. But that's first of all, having government assistance is not something to be ashamed about.
Yeah, I really feel like people
honestly, if you can do it, like, huh?
Right? Like who doesn't like free groceries?
Like,
I think people like, so it's funny too, because a lot of people associate getting government assistance with not having a job or you're
Right.
not doing anything. Okay,
Really
I would just
weird.
like to point out that I was working full time, 40 hours a week at a job where I was getting paid well over minimum wage. And my husband and I still got assistance from the government, whether it was getting childcare paid for or getting food stamps to help us buy groceries.
Yeah,
every
I
month.
was working and getting my
Yeah.
government assistance too.
And
It's not there's that stigma. Oh, it's a lazy person that
Yeah.
just doesn't want to work, and that's not the case. It's actually a struggle raising kids,
Yeah.
and when you're actually trying to do it, when you're putting in the effort, you need that extra support to
Yeah.
make it through certain situations, so you don't end up stuck in a position or stuck in a economically poor, you don't want to be that statistic. So
Yeah.
you're trying to get out of it. So it makes sense to take all the government assistance that you can.
Yeah. I think
It
too,
is also really hard to get out of it.
Okay, so I was going to make a point about that because people make it seem like it's this really easy thing. Like, oh, you're just going to have kids and be on government assistance. Well, first of all, in order to qualify for certain things, you have to literally have practically $0. And especially when came to when we were trying to apply for childcare after I got off maternity leave and we lost all the help that we had. And so there are qualifications, and then they have it up to a certain amount of money that you can make to when they stop helping you. And the issue with that too, which is why a lot of people get stuck in using government assistance, is because the second you start to make more money, it's like, okay, well now we can afford our own groceries, but then we'll lose childcare and we can't afford childcare because who the hell can right now, honestly? It's like
it's
$400 a week for one kid.
You're working that week just to pay for childcare.
Yes.
So then what's the point?
Literally.
You could be home with your kid.
And so it's so silly that people think that like being on government assistance is like the easy way out. Like, no, it's not. Like if you're solely living off of government assistance, and you have no job, you have no money for clothes. You have no money for diapers. You have no money for all of the necessities, soap, toothbrush, toothpaste, toilet paper, paper towel. All of those things are not covered things. You only get food. Sometimes I think you can apply for help to pay your bills that month. They don't give you money to go buy clothes for your kids.
Yeah.
They don't give you money to go buy anything that's outside of having heat and water in your home and food in their stomachs. And if you're working, they help you get to work by helping you with childcare.
Any parent, especially young mothers that are on welfare, good for them.
Yeah.
They should be doing that, and that's showing
especially if the dad is not involved.
Right.
Like, how are you going to expect this teenage person, honestly, any aged woman, to take care of a kid by herself? Like, nobody is supposed to take care of a child on their own. I think brave of anybody to choose to do so, like out of just pure wanting a child. I think that it's very beneficial if you can have both parents involved.
Or even just extra support. Like people say it takes a village.
Right. Yes. But to expect somebody to do it with zero help at all, no help from the father, and then no help from the government assistance when it's available is just ridiculous. And to like look down on somebody, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I would rather see young parents or anybody for that matter filling out the proper forms and applying.
Yeah, because it's
doing
not
those
easy.
things.
It is a freaking headache.
I know. I'd rather see them making that effort instead of, I'm going to sell drugs.
Yeah.
I'm going to,
Yeah.
So they are actually doing the right thing.
Yeah. And I mean, it's meant to help people in those situations. Like, not everybody is living off of the government just because they're lazy and have no desire to get out of poverty, and we also should be realistic about how hard it is to get out of poverty.
Yeah.
Because it's not like, oh, you get a job and you're okay.
And also, it's the government. Like, why are you sticking up for the government?
Yeah.
Like,
seriously.
Take what you can. But yeah, I think it's important that we shed some light that, some of these situations with young moms are positive experiences.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And just like if you're somebody or somebody that like has the desire to be a mother, honestly, at whatever age you are, I think that, it's totally normal. It's amazing, actually. And you just have to make sure and ask yourself, like, are you ready to take it on? But like the desire itself is a good thing. I mean, you want to take care of somebody. You want to raise a person and experience, like, there's nothing that compares to motherhood. And
it's not selfish to, you want somebody to love and them love you. That's normal.
Yeah, that's literally what, okay, that's why people have kids. Yeah. Like, even if you don't come from a poor family, when you, like most people, if they get married, they're like, I want to start a family, because you want something to take care of. You want something to love and cherish. Like, that's literally why people have kids. So yeah, definitely. I don't know. I just think that we need to be more open, especially in this day and age when we're pushing so many different lifestyles. Like, why can't the traditional lifestyle still be something that is looked at with, like,
and I wouldn't even say
admiration.
Traditional, because we're not talking about like get married and have kids. Like,
well, cool. What I'm saying, but even if you do, like, I feel like there's just so much pushback on that. But like wanting to have children together with somebody, like, why isn't that okay? I don't know.
I mean, it's fair to, if my girls were like 16 and like, I really want a baby, I'm going to educate them and make sure, it's not just like, it's for fun or it's easy or it's.
Yeah. Well, I don't think I'm not saying like, oh, if you're 16 and you want to have a baby, go have a baby. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying that the desire to want to have a family is normal. Like,
I think a lot of people's fears or, judgment from Kylie, like saying that at 15, it was like, oh, she's
like,
being
she'll change her
sexually
mind.
Active. And well, I would assume a lot of people were like, it's like sex based instead of like.
Really?
Yeah. I feel like a lot of people think like that. Like, if somebody's thinking about kids like, you know, it's because of sex. Instead of like, actually, no, it's like about the relationship you'd have with your children.
Yeah. Well, so the comments that I was seeing on it though were like, people were like, oh, she must have like a serious void. Like her, you know, upbringing must not have been that great if she wants to like have a child already. And it's like, you know, she wasn't saying like, I want to get pregnant today. She was just saying, I can't wait to be a mother. Like she's looking forward to being a mother,
right?
You know, and I'm saying that there's nothing wrong with that. Like I wouldn't advise any teenager to go and have a baby because they don't have a means to take care of it. They're
Right.
still probably living with their parents and not taking care of themselves either.
Right.
So
it would not be fair to their parents to
right.
take care of their baby.
And so like in that way, like I would say like, obviously, no, I don't advocate
right.
that.
No, but like the desire to
yes.
want to be a mother is completely
yes.
natural.
Yeah. And you don't have to like go out and experience the world and be made to think that you should actually be looking for a different desire or a different career choice or something, like as if being a mom is not good enough.
Right. Or that it's going to limit your potential or stop you from achieving things, because that's not true either.
Yeah. Yeah. No, definitely. I think that there's just a magical something that happens when you have kids that just makes you look at yourself and life so much differently. And like you just feel a different sense of being.
I think so many moms would agree that having kids saved them.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I don't...
I think it makes you just try harder in life. Yeah.
But yeah, I think that was a good discussion and probably just needs to be said and talked about more.
Yeah. So you guys can let us know below, like, what do you think about, you know, having that desire to start a family from a young age? Do you think that's normal? Do you think that kids should be focused on other things? You know, just share with us your thoughts, and go ahead and like this video, subscribe to our channel, and click the links in the description to follow us on our other social media platforms. We are just happy to be doing this, as always, hoping that something comes of this. And if you haven't already, I know I just said subscribe to our channel, but we're really trying to get our subscribers up, hopefully to 100. So yeah, if you could just share our videos as well to get them out to other people, we would appreciate it.
All right, bye guys.
See you next week.